20 to 50 million in a week.
An exclusive Al Jazeera investigation.
There is a hell of a big opportunity to wash money here.
It's $1 billion money laundering operation. It's $1 billion money laundering operation. It's $1 billion money laundering operation.
The gold mafia is bigger than the government.
With financial institutions, regulators and governments complicit.
Zimbabwe is open for business.
It is the right time to strike now.
In a 4-part series, Al Jazeera's investigative unit goes undercover in southern Africa.
It's black money.
He controls 90% of this government.
Once it's refined, it's practically brand new gold.
Part 1 on Al Jazeera.
Wow. Good evening, Wilbert. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and sweet.
Okay, beautiful. I'm just going to take my microphone as well so that we can proceed. Well, good evening to you, our viewers, businesses. You can hear the sound of my voice here. My name is Simba Shikanza, and we are going to do a quick catch up to the Al Jazeera documentary that a lot of people are asking. They're contacting us. They want to know what is going on here. Why is the delay? And we're going to be doing more of these, just engaging you into the running of the documentary, and these will be all live commentaries, and until into and beyond. So I'm just going to try and just adjust my microphone a little bit there. You can just say hello to the people as I'm putting this through. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Good evening to everybody. Can you hear me, Simba?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I'm just switching on my microphone. Is it any better now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and if you can hear me, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Do you think that my volume has improved?
It's perfect now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So here we go. Just putting on my clip here. Okay. So yeah, Wilbert. Well, today is the 6th of March, and Wilbert, I'm sure you saw the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe's statement regarding the documentary.
It is laughable, Simba. It is amazing that.
What's laughable about our own central bank statement, Wilbert? This is you're supposed to regard the RBZ statement with respect, with seriousness, and I would like to know what is tingling you.
Well, if the Reserve Bank is to be respected, it must issue a statement that people can believe in. I mean, if you accept, and let's face it, even he himself, Dr. Mangudla, has admitted in the past that gold smuggling is a serious problem in Zimbabwe. It is unbelievable that anyone would then turn around and say, none of the gold, the money, the looted wealth, some of that money the smugglers are getting, never ever got into Zimbabwe's banking system. That is ridiculous. You know, these people are getting millions of dollars, and there is no doubt that some of it will go through the system as well. You know, so it is ridiculous for him to try to say the bank is clean. The bank cannot be clean in this. They're talking of millions of dollars.
Did I see? I didn't see the word clean, Wilbert. I thought I saw what he is saying is that the people here who communicated falsehoods. He's accusing these people of communicating falsehoods. and then also those who have accused him of being linked to them. These people, they will get sanctions. And then he also states that Zimbabwe is not under any sanctions regarding imports or exports, so there's no need for gold smuggling. What's the problem, Wilbert, with an RBZ governor bringing to light such facts?
Well, I think if I was to interview him and question him, the first question would be: are you saying that there is no gold smuggling from Zimbabwe? That is the question that he's got to answer. Because if there's gold, if there are no sanctions for importing or exporting of gold, then are you suggesting then that there is absolutely no gold smuggling in Zimbabwe? And I think all of us here, including some of the ZANU-PF officials, have admitted that there is corruption and that there is a lot of gold smuggling.
Which country is it that does not have gold smuggling with it?
Yeah, I think that is another point. On that point,
because you seem to be pivoting on that. You seem to be obsessed with just repeating there is gold smuggling. I mean, I'm asking you, which country does not have gold smuggling?
It is a matter of degree, Simba. That point, I know many ZANU-PF leaders and apologists have been trying to hide and claiming that, oh, there's corruption everywhere else in the world. To go back to Dr. Mangudla, I think it was in 2019, he admitted that Zimbabwe was losing a staggering 1.2 billion US dollars per year to gold smugglers alone. Now, if you look at Zimbabwe's annual budget, it's something like 4 billion US dollars. That is 30% of the country's annual budget. And if you look at Zimbabwe's annual GDP as US 10 billion, the gold smuggling constitutes 12%. Where else? Give me one country where you can say it's having comparable amount of hemorrhage as Zimbabwe is having. That is what we have got to start comparing like for like. You know, if other countries have got corruption and it constitutes 0.1%, how can you compare it of their budget? How can you compare it with a country that has got 30% of its annual budget being looted? There's no comparison there. You know, it's the same argument we have had Zimbabwe when we come to elections. Oh, there's no country that has held free, fair, and credible elections. Yes, of course, even some of the countries that have had democratic elections, if you were to dig deep, you may find there was a voter somewhere who was denied the vote for whatever reasons. But if you're looking at the percentages, that's when you realize that the percentages are way out. You know, if 0.01% of the people were denied the vote, that 0.01% would have not made any difference to the result. That is the point. Whereas in this particular case, talking of the elections, ZANU-PF has denied people in the diaspora, 3 million of them. And in terms of percentage, they constitute 37% of the potential voters, the vote. How can you deny 37% of the potential voters the vote and still say the election is free, fair, and credible? So it's a matter of comparing the two. You've got to compare what is like for like.
Wilbert, let's come into the documentary. You know, before we went live, you were asking me, what is the catch up? What is going on, Simba? I think that's what people want to know. And we should have a special session. I'm going to try and advertise that so that I can engage Zimbabweans. I want to hear what they think, what they feel. But I would like Zimbabweans to communicate with an Al Jazeera insider here so that, practically people know what is happening. I even have, this is just as I hear some people saying that they're going to sue. I saw someone say, we will sue Al Jazeera if it doesn't release this documentary because they are now abusing us. But but I also wanted to say quickly that Wilbert, hear me out on this. People want to know why is the delay. How many people want to know why there's a delay? Could you lift your hands out there? We've got a few people, well, about less than 100 or so people watching right now. How many people want to know the delay? Because this documentary was supposed to be released on the 2nd of March, and we're now on the 6th of March today. And we're getting into the 7th. In actual fact, we're now on the 7th in Harare at present. So how many of you want to know? And would you like us to hold a session on this? So you engage here in Al Jazeera, in one or two Al Jazeera insiders on this, and you talk to them, you hear from them. So let me know there if you would like this to be done. But Wilbert, is that still your question? Or you want me to, you are now satisfied?
Well, I think it is important that the documentary is released, and for us as a Zimbabwean, like I said, one of the things that we have heard in Zimbabwe is that information is tightly controlled. While ZANU-PF has admitted there is corruption, they will never tell you the extent of the corruption, who is involved. So we end up with this endless argument where, corruption is everywhere else in the world, and we are dealing with it. You're not dealing with it because corruption now is even worse than it was before Mnangagwa got into power. Before then, corruption was limited to diamonds mostly. There was, yes, a little bit of gold smuggling, but now it has become rampant. These licenses to partners have been increased. It has also extended to lithium, platinum, and other precious minerals, and in many other areas as well that are not related with minerals. Corruption in Zimbabwe has become institutionalized, and I think that is a point that I think I would really look forward to hearing this documentary, because it will confirm that.
While we're at it, Wilbert, I just want to state here, hear me, we responding here to one Muroshi Mukuru, who is saying that it will not be released. The documentary is going to be released. Hear me, it is going to be released. And I'm telling you here what I have as official. It is going to be released. And we shall do a session on this so that people get to understand. Why is it that there's a delay? Now, this delay is somewhat a repeat of the delay that happened when Hopo Chingono disrupted my engagement, my interview engagement with Oxidia Mnangagwa over, and this was partly over the money laundering and looting by Constantino Chiwenga and his surrogates. And this was that very video engagement that I had with Oxidia Mnangagwa on the 15th of May, 2022, when this man called Hopo Chingono called me to disrupt me, claiming that I had blackmailed Oxidia Mnangagwa by announcing to her an 8-hour deadline, after which I would offload to the public the details of my interview and conversation with her. What happens is, as an investigative journalist, when you are working on something, Wilbert, and then someone calls you because they know that you're about to release something, and then they threaten you, telling you, Wilbert, you have blackmailed Emerson Mnangagwa, or you have blackmailed Hubert Angel. You have blackmailed what's his name, by the way? Ewan Macmillan. When a journalist or someone tells you that, Wilbert, you become weak. Even if you're not weak, Wilbert, you withdraw because you have to reassess yourself. Are there any loopholes that this individual could use in the future to come and hit at me? So exactly what happened on the 15th of May last year. And by the way, Wilbert, people didn't know, when I was talking to Auxilia Mnangagwa, that was part of this documentary. People didn't know this, Wilbert. I was actually digging a lot of information, in that 35 minutes, which was crucial to strengthen this documentary, which I have been working on for 4 years. So this is part of what I'm going to disclose to the Zimbabwean people. They should know what happens when investigative journalists delay, or they appear as if they have withdrawn from releasing to the public. A lot of the details from that engagement with Auxilia Mnangagwa may never be known or fully known, especially with the veracity that they had because of that phone call. Or if you want to see details of this, you can go on Hopo Chingono's Twitter account and you will see when he even responded, claiming that their phone call, he confirmed, restating that he accused me, like further revealing, and this time he even said it himself, that it was blackmail. And you see that in that tweet, he repeats the word blackmail twice, Wilbert. So, this is a very dark, a very difficult side, a very dark side of Hopo Chingono. A lot of people can't see. I don't want to dwell on that, but it is important for Zimbabweans to know that this is what he did, and had he not done that, there would have been more energy and more force to get Auxilia Mnangagwa to speak, Wilbert. There would have been more community noise, and more journalists would have felt encouraged to force Auxilia Mnangagwa to engage, to finish my interview. Since that day, Wilbert, sadly, and I'm sorry to say this, to announce to you, Wilbert, and to the Zimbabwean people, I have never had another engagement with Auxilia. That phone call, that disruption by Hopo Chingono, made it easy for Auxilia Mnangagwa to escape the pressure of the interview. And there was more to it, by the way. There was also the issue of armed robbers. And this was Auxilia Mnangagwa's brother, who she appointed the director of state properties, making the corruption and the armed robbery, state of security in the country worse. That was also disrupted by Hopo Chimono. So what is happening here? I'm just trying here to explain so people get to see. Sorry, Ubet, yeah.
No, what I was going to say is that that is nothing new, Simba. In this particular case, it's even more felt if you were in Zimbabwe, because then the state machinery will be switched on and will go after you. I mean, you and me know of countless stories of independent journalists.
Well, in this case, Ubet, in this particular case, the person who was against me, it wasn't the state. The state didn't even issue any statement, Wilbert. It was Auxilia who was against me. And by the way, Wilbert, many members of the state, of the abusive apparatus, CIOs, state house staff, so office of the president and cabinet, military intelligence, military itself, police, the entire Joint Operations Command, they were happy that for the first time, someone had power to confront the most abusive woman ever in the history of our country. Apparently, this is how they describe her. They say that Auxilia, unlike Grace was loud, right? And the Auxilia anorova ari wes uyu Grace angari better is good. Grace angoti tuka tiri kumarali. But Auxilia, they accuse Auxilia of being physically attacking. One man will bet akabvisiswa trousers, akanzi bvisa trousers rako mu state house mukati pabasa to prove that you're a man. But lastly, Wilbert, my engagement with Auxilia was to get details that would have helped us to understand and help the public bring the context around the smuggling, the money laundering, the security situation around it, what is really going on. But most importantly, Wilbert, you see what Constantino Chiwenga was described by this smuggler, that you're a dunderhead. What really is going on here? Because, Wilbert, Auxilia Mnangagwa responds in my interview with her, in my engagement, she responds over the Mary Chiwenga versus Constantino versus Emerson and versus Auxilia herself relationship. So that would have literally brought the composite clarity. But crucially, Wilbert, the noise, the social noise, the journalistic noise would have been that loud, such that Auxilia would have had no other way, no other escape, other than to respond to the questions that are raised to her. She's escaped now, thanks to someone who many people regard as an investigative journalist. But quickly, Wilbert, let's come to what's happened right now with the Al Jazeera documentary. Now the production, okay? It, like as I told you, it is coming out. It will come out. But this is the delay. People have made protestations of a legal nature. So they've said, look, we need the government to be given an opportunity, the government of Zimbabwe, they need to be given an opportunity to respond, a right to reply. That's part of it, Wilbert. And that's the main thrust. It's the same kind of threat of saying, look, you are blackmailing, because as the center and core to the challenge, the legal challenge, is a claim that this Al Jazeera documentary is meant to create and engineer blackmail in the area of the upcoming elections. I'm talking about documents that I've seen with it, correspondence that's been made to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Qatar and to the directors of Al Jazeera. So this is what they're saying here, that they produced. They're accusing Al Jazeera of producing this documentary for an agenda to engineer an election loss against ZANU-PF. That is what is there, Wilbert. And yeah, I'm saddened because when I start to think and to remember, I went into this this is like a repeat, Wilbert. I was in this state from the 15th of May last year when Hopo Chingono had called me, falsely accusing me of blackmailing Oxidia and depriving the people of Zimbabwe of these of this expose. And I'm saddened that we're seeing a repeat again. But Wilbert, I want to tell you that I have it on authority that the documentary will come out. It will come out eventually, and we will be updating. But I want to try and briefly end with this. But we also plan to hold a full session around this and engage the Zimbabwean people over it. Over to you, Wilbert, your question. And yeah.
Well, my comment actually is that even if they use their financial muscle to force Al Jazeera not to air this documentary.
Oh no, I wouldn't call it financial. I think it's just the legal side in the sense of, someone just. I think someone is trying to come in. I think someone is coming in. Let me see. Oh yeah, I think you sent it to Godfrey. Oh, wonderful. Godfrey is here now. Hi, Godfrey.
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, good one. Come in, brother. Yeah, sorry, you were saying, Wilbert?
So what I was saying is, even if the ZANU-PF or the Qatari government use their whatever muscle, political, financial, whatever, to silence the Al Jazeera report, the truth of the matter is corruption in Zimbabwe has become rampant. That is a reality that we cannot run away from. And it was just a matter of time before the truth comes out. I mean, in Shona, we've got a saying, and in this case here, when corruption has reached the level that we're talking about in gold smuggling alone, you are now losing up to 30% of your annual budget as a nation. That is serious, And in this particular case, to think that it can go on forever is being naive.
Oh. Godfrey, I don't know if you're following.
I've only just joined. I don't know if... I think I'm just getting it that you are discussing this Al Jazeera that was supposed to be but never was broadcast. But
no, it's not one. By the way, the documentary is not 1 hour. It's 4 different sessions. It's a series of 4. So just know that if the first one wasn't broadcast, it doesn't mean that they're not good. It's just one that was just temporarily suspended, or shall we say here, not broadcast. Yeah. So we were just talking here, and I was explaining the type of delay that we're seeing here is a repeat of what happened on the 15th of May last year, when Hopo Chingono disrupted me while I was investigating some of a lot of the details inside this documentary. And I don't know if you knew, Godfrey, that I am one of the researchers on this documentary.
No, I wasn't aware.
Okay, yeah, it's just that I wasn't fully public, even though I was from time to time. So, I all this documentary was triggered after a phone call that I did on the 3rd of November 2018 to the first or the second gold smuggler, who is a well-known, previously prosecuted Kenyan Indian by the name Kamlesh Patni. Now, to those who follow our news network, they will remember this phone call that I did while on video and while I was in the main street in Birmingham. Sorry, in the Birmingham Central, and I. This is how I got involved. So I got involved from around the 24th of January 2019, eventually, like, officially. So I've just been explaining so that people understand why there's a delay, because many are supposing that maybe something sinister has happened to the documentary, or there's so what really is going on? And that's what I was just trying to put across here, so people get to know exactly what is going on. And I intend also to hold a bigger session later on tomorrow. But these are the hints here. This is the detail as it is. There are people who disrupt investigative journalists while they are at work. Variko vanhu vakadaro vanozviita zvekuti munenge muchishanda ivo vouya vodisrupt. And kudisrupt kwakashona kokoko kwakatanga musi wa15 May 2022, last year, when mukomana anonzi Opo Chingono akandidisrupta inini he actually used some legal terms, which I had blackmailed Emerson Mnangagwa's wife by issuing a deadline to her. And this was the deadline over my interview. So what happened on the 15th of May? This is a repeat. Yes, because there are some people who wrote on behalf of the Zimbabwe government to Al Jazeera, demanding that the Zimbabwe government must be given a right to reply because their ambassador is involved. And also because they say that this is blackmail again. This is an attempt to twist or to tamper with the upcoming 2023 elections. So ndipo patiri papa. You get it now, Godfrey?
Yes, I do get it. But I think like Hubert was saying, it can be, putting it in Shona, it can be Putirwat. I think we are dealing with people who are very much able to do that. Only a small portion of the Zimbabwean citizens are aware of this kind of, and believe this thing is going on. So it can easily be forgotten about.
I'll beg to differ with you there, Godfrey. I think the level of corruption has reached a level now. We cannot deny that people of Zimbabwe are, when you're looking at 50% are living in abject poverty, people are bound to notice what is going on here. When you're talking of schools are in such a sorry state, health has all but collapsed. Roads have got potholes everywhere. People of Zimbabwe can see that the service delivery is not there anymore. And then they can see the ruling elite and their cronies driving these expensive cars, living in these big mansions. I think it is unbelievable that anyone would still think there's no corruption in Zimbabwe. They may not have the figures. That is what I was saying to Simba earlier on, that one of the beauties of this documentary is that it was going to put the meat on the bones. How much are we dealing with here? Who is really involved? not just have vague ideas, and particularly with Mnangagwa's catch and release approach, where somebody today is accused and then tomorrow you hear, oh, they've been released because there's no sufficient evidence. So are we saying there's corruption or there isn't? You know, but the truth of the matter is corruption is there. And it has reached a level now when the economy is in such a sorry state, where unemployment has soared to 80% plus, and has been there for the last 20 years, where education, the other day I was reading that 18 schools in Binga, one area alone, 18 schools had 0% pass rates at O level in last year's exam. That is a tragic reality. How can you have a country that is going to prosper when it is failing to educate its people? 0%. And this is not only Binga. Most rural schools right now that are government run, the pass rate has been 3% or less countrywide. The only schools that are performing are those missionary related schools. You know, those are the ones that are delivering some quality education other than the private schools in urban centers. Otherwise, this is the reality. And how can you leave so many people behind? That is the reality. I think as much as ZANU-PF would want to have this covered up again, corruption, even if they get away with it this time, they will not get away with it for long. It's just a matter of time. Corruption has become so rampant, it cannot be ignored anymore.
Yeah, I think the population, this can only succeed if a larger portion of the citizen is, their belief is shifted from the blame on sanctions to this. And also when this Al Jazeera one comes out, I don't know how much coverage it would enjoy. Because the blame up to now, people are still blaming the sorry state of the economy on sanctions.
I think the argument on sanctions is again comes from ZANU-PF faithfuls. Even they would find it very difficult to talk of sanctions. If, for instance, the Al Jazeera documentary was to put, like I said, the meat on the bones, so that we end up with a situation where you're saying, well, you are losing 30% of your annual budget through corruption on gold smuggling alone. For somebody to turn around and say, no, we blame sanctions. Then you ask them, okay, how much are you losing through sanctions? You've got now to put a figure. Because if it is, yes, sanctions do affect the economy, but if it is 1%, what is 1% compared to 30%? You know, this is where the people will begin to start to realize, to weigh things. If you're going to talk of corruption, it's the same as earlier on. I don't know whether you were listening. We're talking with Simba about elections. To say that, oh, there's no country in the world that can say they've got perfect elections. They are free, fair, and credible in every respect. You always have one or two individuals who, for one reason or another, they fail to vote. Yes, if it's 1%, and somebody has won with 20%, it is, you cannot argue that that 1% was going to make any difference. You know, and this is why even the opposition in those respective countries will never make an issue of the elections were rigged. But if you're talking of Zimbabwe, where you deny 3 million people in the diaspora the vote, 3 million, and don't forget with Mnangagwa in 2018 won with 2.4 million. So there are more Zimbabweans in the diaspora who they denied the vote than those who voted for Mnangagwa. And the 3% constitute 37%. How can that 37% be just brushed aside and say, oh, it doesn't matter? You know, that is what we're talking about now. People must start weighing things. Look at this small detail. Detail matters here, Godfrey. That's the argument.
Well, folks, we want to try and can you hear me, folks?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Suba.
yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we want to schedule for tomorrow 7 p.m. 7 p.m. British time, and we're going to hold a whole session around this documentary, what really has happened around it, and this is what we've been talking about briefly and brushing over tonight. And by the way, it will be a special one. You're going to be hearing from an Al Jazeera insider, so someone who's literally worked on the documentary. So tag a friend, bring someone, come along, subscribe, and follow through. And if there are any questions you have as well, you're free to log in and ask us directly. Folks, we're going to need to shut. This has just been quite brief. I was thinking of it just for us to just do 15 minutes over this, because I think this is what people, one area that people are blowing over. And if we could catch up tomorrow 7 p.m. Yeah, how is that, gents?
Yeah, 7 p.m. is fine with me.
All right. Yeah, it is fine
Wonderful.
with me as well. If Wilbert, if you could send me the link as well.
I'll do that, yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Folks, we're going to need to cut now. Do rewind and hear for yourself. Catch up here to the Al Jazeera documentary. Thank you very much. This is your news network, Zimai.com.
Turn dirty money into African gold.
I went to jail for gold when I was 21.
I do roughly about $70-80 million every month.
I do 200 kilos a week.
20 to 50 million in a week.
An exclusive Al Jazeera investigation.
There is a hell of a big opportunity to wash money here.
It's a $1 billion money laundering operation.
The gold mafia is bigger than the government.
With financial institutions, regulators and governments complicit.
Zimbabwe is open for business.
It is the right time to strike now.
In a 4-part series, Al Jazeera's investigative unit goes undercover in southern Africa.
It's black money.
He controls 90% of this government.
Once it's refined, it's practically brand new gold.
Part 1 on Al Jazeera.
They're stealing in one signature, you could lose everything you've worked for all your life.
Date is April 30th, 2022. This greedy executor is untouchable, and he is distributing a paltry $11 per child, while paying himself $35,000.
Is based on
Who's
an
next?
inflated figure.
Can I address the issue of inflated figure?
Do you find it ethical?
Months later, one greedy crook stopped. Who's next? Who's next?
This is Zimai Media, broadcasting all around the world, on the spot, on the dot.